From a brave little boy to a recognized soldier, this is the journey of the fearless Sergei. The enemy took away his loved ones, but they couldn't take away his courage and determination. It is the 1940s, right in the middle of World War II. A young boy named SeryozhaAleshkov is hanging from a tree trunk. He is completely lost in his thoughts about nature. Down by the riverbank, his mother is busy washing clothes, while his older brother Petya tries his luck at fishing for dinner. Suddenly, a plane appears, and chaos arises as the plane starts firing at them. In the nick of time, their mother tells the boys to hide. But Seryozha is a brave soul. He takes his trusty slingshot, and with great courage, he manages to take down the enemy aircraft. However, when he turns back to speak to his mother and brother, they are nowhere to be found. Just then, a loud knocking at the door scares Seryozha and wakes him up from the nightmare. Anxiously, he rushes to answer, believing it's his mother. But to his surprise, it's his aunt, Anisia. She is standing there trembling. She urgently tells him to pack his things because a terrible tragedy has befallen his mother and brother. There is grave danger, as soldiers are hunting for them. Anisia's desperate plan is to pretend to be his mother and escape with him. Before they can do that, German soldiers storm towards their home. Anisia valiantly helps Seryozha escape through a window, but tragically sacrifices herself, and she gets shot in the process. Terrified, Seryozha flees into the forest, his heart filled with the hope that his mother will somehow find him. As hours turn into a never-ending journey for survival, Seryozha has to navigate the challenges of the wild on his own. While he was quenching his thirst by a river, soldiers suddenly appeared near him that triggered his trauma. He swiftly seeks refuge, hiding among the roots of a giant tree. But then, an unexpected guest arrives. There's a snake. Seryozha, terrified to his core, suppresses his fear, knowing that nothing could be worse than sharing the fate of his family. In the meantime, the soldiers start a fire and take a well-deserved rest. After their meal, they extinguish the fire and depart. It is at this moment that Seryozha finally manages to escape the sinister clutches of the snake. With a growling stomach, he picks up one of the discarded cans, hoping to find even the smallest scraps of food. A few days have passed, and the young boy has grown incredibly weak because of hunger, and he is barely able to walk. He stumbles upon some small fruits along his path, but his refuge is shattered when the area is bombed. With evening rain pouring down, Seryozha is completely exhausted and he lacks the strength to seek shelter. However, a few hours later, 2 Russian soldiers discover him and take him back to their camp. There, he meets Commander Kuznetsov, who quickly rallies his men to provide care and nourishment for the boy. They begin to call him by his new nickname, Sergei. Time passes, and the soldiers try to shift their focus from the horrors of war by reminiscing about their families. But their respite is shattered when an unexpected bomb strikes the infirmary. Sergei, now hurt once more, is tended to by Nurse Petya, who rushes to assist the new wave of casualties. Despite his injuries, young Sergei never stops talking and shows a keen interest in learning about the life of a soldier. Gradually, he manages to win the hearts of everyone around him and becomes an integral part of their makeshift family. One day, Katya makes an unusual discovery. She finds a goat outside the tent, leaving everyone puzzled about how the animal wound up in such an unlikely place. Nevertheless, they are delighted because it means they can enjoy fresh milk and cheese, a rare treat given their harsh reality during the war. Kuznetsov and his comrades reappear. The commander checks on Sergei, relieved to see the boy on the mend. Seryozha confides that he had received a painful injection and initially contemplated running away. However, his courage kept him in place. Sergei musters the courage to ask the commander about his pistol. After a brief demonstration, Kuznetsov shares that it's a special weapon gifted to him by General Ostershow. This revelation excites Sergei, who imagines himself firing the pistol. However, Kuznetsov decides that he's still too young to handle such a firearm. In a surprising twist, Sergei proudly displays a tank he's drawn on his belly, defying the commander's expectations. Then he inquires about whether Kuznetsov owns an airplane. When he discovers that the commander has never owned such an aircraft, Sergei decides to draw one on the bandage wrapped around his injured arm. As the commander exits the tent, Katya gathers her courage to discuss Sergei's situation with him. She pleads for the boy to stay with them, but Kuznetsov firmly denies the request, insisting that a child doesn't belong in their midst and that he plans to take Sergei to an orphanage. But when an attack happens, Kuznetsov joins the action, and as they return to the camp, the orphanage representative is there to take Sergei away. However, Katya is heartbroken and decides to leave without saying goodbye. Sergei sits with Kuznetsov, who begins to explain what will happen next, but Sergei starts crying, fearing he won't see the commander again. In a touching moment, Kuznetsov offers Sergei a wooden toy weapon and asks if he'd like to be his son. They embrace, and Kuznetsov tears up the orphanage documents he had signed. Now the challenge is getting proper clothes for Sergei. Igor prepares some old pieces for the tailor to create new clothes for the boy. Katya gets small boots for him, and with some adjustments, they fit perfectly. The next morning, Kuznetsov wakes Sergei, telling him he needs to get dressed as a real soldier in just under 45 seconds. A soldier must be quick as an emergency can arise at any moment. Sergei is thrilled with his new uniform and loves wearing it all the time. Suddenly, he notices a sticker on Kuznetsov's face. The commander makes a playful excuse, saying he cut himself while shaving to keep time. In this way, he hides the actual reason behind the scar. Afterwards, they go out to meet the other soldiers. The little Sergei proudly shows off his new uniform to everyone. However, this happy moment is not for long. A surprise attack from the enemy forces them into the trenches for cover. After the chaos, Sergei bravely helps with the wounded soldiers in the infirmary. Although he can't read, he tries to comfort one of the injured soldiers by making up cheerful stories about the letters the man received. When Sergei sings to the wounded, it brings some comfort and hope during a tense time. As the night falls, Sergei takes a nap with his head on Katya's lap. Kuznetsov approaches them, intending to talk to Katya. However, Sergei wakes up and disrupts their private conversation with his innocent interruption. While the camp is being rebuilt, two soldiers notice Sergei shaving and tease him, asking if he's preparing for a date. But Sergei proudly declares he's a soldier, and soldiers don't go on dates. Later, he meets with the commander to learn his task for the day. Kuznetsov wonders why Sergei has a bandage on his face. Sergei explains he accidentally cut himself while shaving. He really wants to become like his adoptive father for sure. The commander then asks Sergei to get the letters from the arriving truck and distribute them to the soldiers. The men are overjoyed when they receive letters from their loved ones, and this makes Sergei enjoy his job even more. After completing his task, Sergei wears a camouflage suit and sneaks around the camp. Looking through binoculars, he spots someone hiding boots in a haystack. He rushes back to the camp and gathers some comrades to investigate. They discover two enemy soldiers hiding there after a brief exchange of gunfire. Sergei returns to the camp with the news. Meanwhile, Commander Kuznetsov learns from a soldier that his son helped capture two spies. He's surprised and proud of Sergei's bravery and humility. Later, Sergei visits the commander with great news. Kuznetsov has received permission to adopt Sergei, and they will officially become a family. Sergei is thrilled and rushes to share the news with Katya. He recalls seeing her cry once when Kuznetsov was wounded in battle. The commander is a bit taken aback by this, but he decides to accompany Sergei. While Kuznetsov and Sergei are on their way, Katya is by the river washing herself. A soldier sneaks up, takes her coat, and offers her a bouquet of flowers he picked. Katya is clearly uncomfortable and tries to get her coat back. Just then, Sergei and his father appear. Kuznetsov quickly senses the situation, pulls Sergei away, and watches attentively. Sergei manages to free himself from his father's arms and runs towards Katya, calling for his father, who has left the scene, feeling embarrassed. A few days pass, and during another battle, the boy walks through the trenches to find Igor. He needs to deliver ammunition. Igor, a soldier, instructs him to go to an underground shelter. Initially, Sergei doesn't want to leave his comrades, but Igor convinces him that it's an order, and a good soldier follows orders. However, Sergei still wants to help. He overhears his father and his comrades talking about a failed connection. A wire broke. Some men were sent to fix it. Sergei decides to find them and crawls on the ground to avoid enemy fire. He discovers an injured soldier and asks for guidance on fixing the wire. Sergei follows the instructions, reconnects the wire, and the commander can call for reinforcements. This brave act may have saved many lives. After the battle, Sergei comes up with a new plan. He wants to bring Katya and her father together because he's noticed their interest in each other. So he tells the nurse that the commander is sick and brings her to his room. When she arrives, Katya finds Kuznetsov on the table and wakes him up in distress. Meanwhile, Sergei, watching from the outside, sees the plan unfold. As Katya examines him, the commander, pretending not to be ill, understands his son's plan but can't find the right words to express his feelings. Katya is embarrassed and leaves. Kuznetsov follows her, while Sergei climbs a tree and uses binoculars to observe the camp. He spots rescue dogs arriving and goes to meet them. He asks for permission to go for a walk with them, sitting on a wheeled stretcher pulled by the dogs. But there's a problem. The dogs spot a cat and start chasing it towards a minefield. Realizing the danger, Rezo rushes on a motorcycle to stop them. When he sees Sergei is safe, he's greatly relieved. In the forest, Kuznetsov tries to talk to Katya but struggles to find the right words. So he brings Sergei into the conversation, suggesting that the boy cares a lot for the nurse. He asks if Katya would like to become the boy's mother, but before she can answer, a soldier arrives with a message from the high command. The next day, the army prepares to leave. They later stop at a peasant's house to rest and eat. They discover a German bomb in the house, but luckily it hasn't exploded. They help the villagers remove the bomb before continuing their journey. During the trip, the vehicle Sergei is in explodes as they've entered a minefield. Sergei is bewildered by the chaos, and a short distance away, he discovers Rezo has been killed. When they finally arrive at their destination, Sergei asks about his next task, which involves inspecting soldiers' uniforms with the help of an officer. After completing the task, he returns to the general's office to deliver the report. At night, Sergei and his father walk through the forest and discuss the upcoming award ceremony. Sergei will receive a guard insignia. It is a badge that is given to those who risk their lives to save the country. Finally, in 1943, Sergei was recognized as the youngest soldier of World War II, receiving the Medal of Honor. Loved this recap? Don't miss the next one. Subscribe, like, and comment which movie we should dive into next. Your pick could be our next spotlight, and turned on the notification so you stay alerted of our next post.